Hey folks, here to talk to you about Gravity Falls, episode 6, Dipper versus Manliness. I really liked this one. At first I didn't think I was going to, but I really liked how it ended. I really liked the conclusions it came to. This was good stuff. Excuse me. So, basically, this is the one where Dipper feels that he is insufficiently manly, so he goes to the Manotars, and they're a bunch of douche bros living in a man cave. A literal man cave. I enjoyed that. And they try to teach him to be manlier, which mostly means ignoring pain, which is to say ignoring your own feelings about things and being stoic all the time, being violent. It was kind of amusing how they were actually, like, at least a couple of them were actually relatively, like, sensitive in the sense of, like, being willing to listen. But overall, they were pretty standard, testosterone poisoned macho guys. They're manly all over everything. Which is good. That's something that should be mocked. Gender norms suck, and they deserve only mockery. Be who you are, and own it. And that's, where the episode came down, which I liked. Dipper could not bring himself to perform that final act of violence against a creature with whom he felt a connection because they both liked the same terrible song. And so he spared that person. And of all people, Grunkle Stan validates him for that and tells him, you did the right thing. You went with your morals instead of what society told you you're supposed to be. The Manitars. I still enjoy that name. And that was good. That was exactly how it should be. It's just really surprising coming from Grunkle Stan, or at least it was surprising when I was watching it. Now I'm sitting here talking about it. It actually kind of does make sense because for all that he's fundamentally terrible, Stan is who he is. He doesn't really care what society thinks he should be. Now, he honestly takes that a little bit too far to the point of being, a con man. But fundamentally, he wants what he wants, and he is who he is, and he doesn't apologize for it. Which, yeah, like I said, he's kind of a sterling example of taking that idea too far. You have to somewhat accommodate other people. If who you are is a disgusting, sweaty mess in a vomit-stained tank top, then maybe consider modifying that a little. But if you are as Dipper's a pretty okay kid. He should embrace that and own it. And it's nice to see that he does. I'm really starting to get the feeling that this show is going to be very much about like coming of age type stuff, about growing up, given the episodes we've had so far. Certainly, that's a very common theme, so I just assumed that they were just going to that well a lot. But honestly, out of 6 episodes, I think 4 or 5 of them have been about that particular idea. Mabel's first boyfriend, and him being over-aggressive. God, I love that gnome gag. And Dipper's, crush and wanting to be one of the older kids, and them not being embarrassed to spend time with their family. That's all standard growing up stuff. And this episode, of course, is the tension between, who you really are and the restrictive gender norms being imposed on you by society. So again, good on the show for recognizing that those were garbage. And that being a man, a woman, an adult, is about growing into your own best self, not accepting and adopting the frankly shitty ideas of either gender that society says you should be. Your options are basically a hyper-aggressive moron with no emotional intelligence, no appreciation for any of the good things in life, just a thug, basically. Or you can be, submissive and exist for the entertainment of others and have no ownership of yourself. I mean, those are both shitty options. But, yeah, that's a man and that's a woman, according to society. Screw that. Be who you are. I know that's like the moral of everything ever, but again, we have the example of Stan and how, frankly, gross he is. And the fact that while they're doing the straightforward, reject peer pressure, learn to be who you are kind of episode, as a B story, we have, Grunkle Stan and Mabel parodying that story, where just like Dipper, he's trying to be something he's not and failing miserably, but he ends up being Grunkle Stan, which really is not someone that I think most people want to be. It's the difference between being your own best self and just completely indulging your every impulse and being an utter slob. Which, I understand the temptation to that. It's something we all struggle with, some of us more than others. I'm not exactly Mr., perfectly groomed and coiffed, go to the gym every day, etc., etc. But, the idea of being who you are doesn't necessarily entail having no room for self-improvement. Who you are is a flexible thing, and it is capable of growth. And Stan clearly doesn't have much of that. He's an entertaining cartoon character, but as a person, it's not just the hygiene thing, though that's a problem. It's the lack of caring for others. It's the money grubbing. It's the fact that he's just basically a jerk. Those are all, the lack of hygiene is just the immediately obvious first glance issue. Those are all much bigger problems. Hygiene one's easiest to fix, though. Really good episode. I really liked how, the B plot was basically a parody of the A plot, in order to kind of modify that be yourself, both to make it a little bit less of the boring standard be yourself that's in everything, and although it is nice that it was specifically about resisting gender norms, which very often what you get is be yourself, but also conform to these things. And this was a nice, rejection of that conformity. But ultimately, the parody allows it to both be less cliche and to be, and to kind of soften it a bit. You know, like I was saying, be yourself, but be your best self. Put some effort into being yourself. Don't be Grunkle Stan. And yeah, and I like that. So I like kind of the message it's sending, but perhaps more importantly, I like the way it's doing it. I like the way it's structured. The self-parody thing is a neat trick, and it'll be cool to see if they do that in more episodes, you know. I also like the idea of splitting up the twins, and giving them each their own separate journey. And I'd like to see some mixing up with that, too. A little less of them constantly rescuing each other, and a little more of them, you know, obviously have episodes where they're together, but also explore other pairs of characters. You know, the pair of Dipper and Mabel functions in certain ways and does certain things, but if you keep using it for everything, it's going to get repetitive. So try out some other pairs. You know, Mabel and Grunkle Stan, that was a good one. You know, if you're going to keep them as the two main characters, then they'll be in almost all of the pairs, and that's fine. But there's other ones you can try. You could try, you know, Seuss is usually there with both of them. How would things change if Seuss was with just one? Like Seuss and Mabel. In this episode, we had Seuss as kind of a minor element in Mabel and Grunkle Stan. What if we had Mabel and Seuss for an episode? Half an episode. You know, interweaving with the other half, which is Dipper and Grunkle Stan. Or Dipper and Wendy, though that could go wrong with the whole crush thing. So that would have to be navigated carefully. Or, you know, what would Mabel and Wendy do if they had to spend a day together? What would their interactions be like? That would be actually one I'd be really interested to see because they're such polar opposites. Excuse me. I was trying to cover for it, but it should be clear. I am now on week 4 of still being sick. It's getting pretty ridiculous. Anyway, I think that's about all I had to say. Really enjoyed the episode. I think this was probably the best one yet. Didn't have any laughs as big as the big gnome laugh from the first episode, but it's good stuff, and I look forward to watching more. Thanks, and see y'all next time.